Welcome to the Lockdown Economy, a social non-profit initiative by the think tank AlterContacts to help small businesses and self-employed professionals overcome the challenges of the pandemic and reactivate the economy. My name is Karen Rickes, and today our guest is Elsine van Os, the founder and CEO of Signpost 6. Signpost 6 is an insider risk training and consultancy firm. Hello, Elsine. How are you today?
Yeah, very good, Karen. Nice to be here.
Yeah, well, we are really glad to have you here because this is actually your second interview with Lockdown Economy already. For those of our viewers who are new to Lockdown Economy and perhaps need a little introduction into insider risk training, could you tell us a bit about your business?
Yes, we help organizations with the retention of their critical assets, so predominantly data, but also physical assets, etc., to protect them from internal employees or contractors or volunteers that might take it out of the organization to the benefit of another organization or a state actor or organized crime group, etc. So, and that's what insider risk management is about, to protect actually, business assets in essence. Against people who want to do harm to the organization or use it for alternative purposes.
I see. I could imagine that, especially in these times, that sort of data protection is an ever-growing concern that's very relevant to many clients. What kind of customers do you have, for example? What businesses do you work with?
Both the public and private sector. And more in the public sector, you can think more about topics like undermining. So organizations or people within organizations giving data or other assets to organized crime groups. So that's more in the public domain. And then more in the private sector, it's especially organizations that have critical technology and innovations to protect from, for instance, competitors that want to walk away with it. So it's especially these types of businesses that we support.
Okay, very interesting. Well, I mentioned it before, this is your second interview with Lockdown Economy already. So could you tell us a bit about how the pandemic has affected your business since we last spoke?
Yeah, since we last spoke. So the last time we had the interview, I think it was towards the end of the year. So we were already over half a year into the pandemic, and it's really affected our organization in a sense that we have a training and consultancy business. Our training stopped. It was a lot of physical training, so obviously that stopped at that moment in time. And also our consultancy, it wasn't really on top of mind for organizations, understandably. Organizations are also in survival mode. And that's actually changing at the moment. So since we spoke last time, actually we were internally looking at the time to really reorganize ourselves. Now we are actually moving more into the external world again, and we see there is a regular as to almost normal interest again. So the business is really picking up again. So we have to be flexible now in the other direction to really see how we can meet customer needs.
Yeah, that's really good to hear that, things are sort of coming back into place now that, as you mentioned, other businesses also have moved on from that stage of having to figure out how to deal with this pandemic in the first place. So you also mentioned that you had to do some reorganizing, of course, because your sort of old business, pre-pandemic business model didn't really fit the new circumstances. Could you tell us a bit more about sort of what aspects of the business model you considered changing?
Especially the training. I think consultancy, we support multinational organizations anyway with a lot of virtual work from a consultancy point of view. I think that's more accepted now to work more virtually anyway, but I don't see a really big change on the consultancy front there in terms of changing our business. It's really about training, and the training we organize more in physical masterclasses. We've now really invested in a really nice online suite of trainings. So we have a serious game that we've developed. We have a whole online education that we've developed. So that we didn't have before. So actually we were making full use of the time that we had to develop our products, if you will. So I think in the end, if we look back, it's all really been beneficial for us.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, I guess you could argue that, yeah, if you sort of want to look at it from both sides of the medal, so to say, there's an upside to this situation after all. So could you tell us a bit more about sort of how you made that transition to this online environment possible? What were some of the challenges you encountered?
Well, to transition to an online environment, you don't just want to go online and give your training in the old-fashioned way either. So by giving presentations that you would normally do in a classroom situation online, no. So we really made everything more digital. So we did audio recordings, we used nice footage, we did a lot of video recordings as well. So that all the trainings that we have can be done in people their own times. So that's also quite nice. And yeah, I think also we need to adjust to that particular factor, that it's not really going from classroom trainings to doing the same training virtually, but you have to do much more than that. We've developed a book in our central repository. So we have a book of 200 pages that people can consult. We have lots of other materials. The modules that we've developed, yeah, people can do it really when they want. So we are also accommodating for time differences. So that's, yeah, I think we needed to really professionalize. So like I said, it's not just turning things online, it's professionalizing all that we have. And I think that's been a really big investment, but we would have never done that investment if COVID wouldn't happen, because then we would have just gone on with what we were doing and we would have never had the time to really professionalize so much. So yeah, in that sense, I mean, it's been a really test of flexibility and adaptation. But yeah, I think all in all, that's really brought us a lot.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, I think now that you mention, yeah, flexibility, adaptability, that's probably something a lot of us out there can relate to. And I think it's really important to mention that, of course, adapting does not necessarily mean just sort of doing the same thing, yeah, to the exact same degree online, but really look out for what's different in that online environment. And you mentioned that, yeah, your customers are coming back, and now that you have that online offering, could you tell us a bit more about like how your customers are responding to these online classes, for example?
Yeah, I do think that we have to be wary of the fact that people do want to have interactions. So even though we've set everything up online and it's easier for people now to go ahead with that. Also because people are not going to travel anymore. I think that is the new normal. The travel is remaining restricted for quite a long time. And also, I think the reality is that we are going to stay online. So people who have been postponing their trainings, and everybody wants to learn and develop always, and people who have been postponing it, are going to think, okay, what do we have around? What is available to us, and what works for us as well? And what we need to be mindful of is to, apart from the fact that we have these online trainings, we do make sure that the interaction keeps going as well. So we have our monthly meetings now for all our trainees, and we need to invest in that more. And we see these exchanges happening now, and we're building a really nice community. And that's something that we need to foster. So I think for us, our materials are now well developed and set in stone. And now we need to foster actually the exchanges that we can have with people online. And then also, I think it's really beneficial to find people from all parts of the world joining in on those calls. So yeah, that's another new benefit, I would say.
Yeah, definitely. It's always great, I think, to not sort of just have to stare at your screen all day long by yourself, but actually get to interact with someone. And then if it's actually a global community, you get, so many more insights and perspectives. And maybe, the clients can also learn from each other based on what they've gathered from your classes. So yeah, that sounds like a really good thing to look out for in the future. Now, kind of looking back a bit at the beginning of the lockdown, having to reorganize, you mentioned in your last interview that was, of course, a very, in a way, intense process also for your team, because you were a relatively new team at that time. Could you tell us a bit more about how you as a team have been managing this crisis over the past months?
Yeah, over the past months, well, I just saw a colleague of mine again last week, and we realized we hadn't seen each other since October. We also have new associate team members, and also somebody in the Netherlands, and she's part of the team. And also last week, I realized I actually had never seen her before. So you're getting so used to working online that you even forget sometimes that there is also this physical domain and also the benefits of this. And interestingly enough, we are in a process of changing offices, and we were wondering, yeah, are we going to stay virtual for a while? I mean, yeah, the chances to go to the office are not very high in the coming months. But we realized actually it is useful to have an office, to have that grounding, to be able to see people once in a while if need be. So yeah, we're slowly moving towards more a normal or more a hybrid situation, looking towards the future, like how do we want to work together in the future? And yeah, I think most of us are thinking of like a hybrid type of setup, partly from home, partly from the office. So we're getting back to that new normal now, at least in our thinking process.
Very good. Do you think that that kind of hybrid concept will also apply, yeah, to your offering? So not just to actually working from home or from the office, but maybe offering both physical and online classes to your clients?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I think in any case, I mean, we have international program that remains online. I think it's also a strong point for us to have this all available online. I can imagine in the Netherlands itself, it might be that we would have master classes or so more in a physical space. So yeah, if it's Dutch oriented, then I can imagine that we would go back into classroom types of situations. But generally, I think our online proposition will really remain as it is just now.
All right.
Yep.
Well, now to really look back on, reflect a bit on this year of being in crisis mode. What would you say are some of your biggest learnings as an entrepreneur in managing the crisis?
Remaining flexible and keep seeing the opportunities as well, even though you're breaking your mind over how you're going to manage certain things. But yeah, I think we had the luxury of having a bit of a buffer, so we weren't very nervous about the situation at the beginning. So in the beginning, we had the luxury to think about, okay, so what do we do with our time now if you don't have clients and you may have to make the best of your time. But later on, of course, it becomes a little bit more tense because then actually you have to get back out there. You have to get your clients back. And that's been a more tense period. And we're not out of that period either. We're still in the process of getting things properly back on track and having like a proper stable basis for our organization. But we are really seeing that that's coming again. But yeah, it is really being very flexible, making sure what you do with your time is right, but also remain strategic about it. So keeping the long view, really understanding, okay, so what I'm investing in now, how does it contribute to the future, also in the long term? So I think it's been very useful for us to have like this strategic meeting right in April when we were full in the lockdown, to really think about, okay, where is this all heading? And of course, it was quite difficult to assess at that moment in time. But it really helped us to at least have a course of action for at least the coming 6 months or a little bit longer. So that really helped us to keep a focus.
Yeah, definitely. Even though, of course, the situation is marked or shaped by so much uncertainty. A little having at least somewhat of a medium-term strategy, so to say, definitely doesn't hurt. And now that we're looking towards the next couple of months, there's again uncertainty involved with, okay, is there going to be any lifting of measures anytime soon? Looking towards the future, what are maybe 3 things that you could use help with in the next couple of months?
Yeah, so you were talking about that uncertainty. I think actually uncertainty is also a certainty. So if you have this strategic view and you think, okay, so we're heading into uncertainty for a very long period of time, and if you assess it that way and you believe it is uncertain for a very long time, you can also plan for that. So that's another thing. But I wanted to reflect on that when you were saying uncertainty. What was your question after that?
If you could name 3 things that you could use help with in the next couple of months.
Yeah, I think I mentioned also in the previous interview that we are struggling a little bit with the marketing components of things. We've picked up on that and we're learning by doing. It's not our specialization. So yeah, I think that is one thing that is for us outstanding, that we really need to learn and adapt in that space. So how do you organize your online marketing? What works best? We have a difficult topic to grasp for people. What is this whole insider risk management about? And yeah, that is, I think for us, it's really key. How do we communicate this very clearly? And how do we bring this about? And how do we make sure that our offerings are suitable to people's needs? And that's also communicated through our social media channels. So I think that is for us the challenge still. I think it's remaining a challenge because it is not a very easy topic. But that's on top of our mind in terms of challenges and need for support.
All right. Thank you, Elsine, so much for sharing your insights with us today. And thank you to everyone who joined us today. Elsine, do you have any last words to our viewers out there?
No, I think we're not out of it yet. So we have to remain flexible and we have to keep adapting to the situation. But yeah, I do have the feeling for us, at least, there's definitely light at the end of the tunnel. And I think the tunnel wasn't that bad either, at least for us. So I'm quite grateful where we are at the moment.
Okay,
Yeah.
really good. Yeah, that's something we can all keep in mind, to just continue to be flexible no matter what's coming the next couple of months. So thank you, Elsine, for that. Feel free to contact Elsine using any of the links in the description of this video below. I invite you to like this video and subscribe to our channel. On our channel, you can find many more insights from entrepreneurs in many different countries and business sectors. So please have a look and stay tuned.